right, let's dive right into this explainer. Back when the Supreme Court dropped the Andrew F. decision, they mandated that schools must enable a child to make progress appropriate in light of the child's circumstances. That one single sentence literally shattered all those old minimum effort myths. It completely changed the landscape of inclusive education forever. What it really means is that we are legally and, frankly, ethically bound to expect meaningful, measurable progress from every single student, regardless of what their circumstances might be.
Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're talking about upgrading your approach with the most cutting-edge instructional strategies from 2024 to 2026. The goal here is simple. We want to transform you from a traditional purveyor of content into a really sophisticated architect of learning. We're going to equip you with an entirely new toolkit to meet these rigorous modern standards, making absolutely sure that true inclusion is built right into the very fabric of your teaching.
So here's our blueprint for today. We'll be looking at 1. The new standard of progress. 2. Designing neuro-inclusive environments. 3. Brain-based instruction and UDL. 4. AI and personalized learning. And finally, 5. Data, trauma, and teamwork. Think of this as your cognitive map to completely skip the overwhelm and move forward step by step.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, the new standard of progress, moving from de minimis to appropriately ambitious. Before we design the classroom of the future, we have to grasp the intense legal and psychological paradigm shift that actually brought us here. Look at this shift. It's honestly massive. We used to live in this de minimis era where basically as long as a school provided minimal educational benefit and checked the right procedural boxes, they met their legal obligation, just basic access. But today, the post-Andrew F. era demands that our goals be appropriately ambitious. We've completely moved away from a deficit-based model that accepted minimal progress to a strengths-first approach. It requires substantive quality and evidence-based growth for a free, appropriate public education. This is a huge psychological shift for educators. It essentially means every single instructional choice you make has to be defensible and actively linked to student growth.
Moving right along to Section 2, Designing Neuro-Inclusive Environments, Engineering Physical Spaces for Human Variability.
Now that we understand those incredibly high legal stakes, we enter the physical phase of our toolkit. We're looking at the actual room your students walk into every morning. Here is the big paradigm shift. We've got to stop looking at human nervous system variations as problems we need to accommodate and start seeing them as normal human variabilities to proactively design for. Neuro-inclusive design recognizes that neurodiverse students, like those with ADHD or autism, face these massive invisible barriers when a room's sensory input just isn't managed. Think about it. If a student is experiencing cognitive overload simply from the lights and sounds in the room, they literally have zero energy left for learning.
Just look at the contrast here. On the left, you've got that traditional setup. Glaring fluorescent lights, uniform desks, high visual clutter. It overloads the brain and causes headaches. But the neuro-inclusive model on the right, it swaps those out for flicker-free LEDs to reduce agitation. It introduces flexible seating, things like woggle cushions and standing desks, because actually movement supports attention for neurodiverse brains. And maybe most importantly, it uses sensory zoning. Imagine having a low-stimulus quiet corner where a student can just retreat, regulate their nervous system, and not even have to ask. It immediately dials down that fight-or-flight response and builds real self-advocacy.
All right, Section 3, Brain-based instruction and UDL. Universal Design for Learning 3.0, and embedded instruction.
So with the physical environment fully optimized, we can step right into the cognitive architecture of our daily lessons. Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, recently updated to version 3.0, and it confirms what we've kind of always known. There's literally no such thing as an average brain. Planning for the average student is a complete design flaw. Instead, UDL 3.0 targets 3 specific brain networks. You've got the affective network. That's the why of learning, giving students agency and hooking their interests. Then, the recognition network, the what, where you use visuals, tactile supports, and text, all together so kids gather info in multiple ways. And finally, the strategic network, the how, which allows students to show what they know through speaking, drawing, writing, or tech. You really have to design for all 3 to give every single student true access to the grade-level curriculum.
And if you're wondering if this actually works, check out this number. The payoff is undeniable. Classrooms with high UDL implementation see a massive 37.4% increase in academic achievement. And here's the best part. The most pronounced benefits actually happen for students who start with the lowest baseline engagement. UDL is not just some accommodation for a few kids. It is a total optimizer for your entire classroom ecosystem. Okay, here's another incredibly powerful cognitive tool for your architect's kit: embedded instruction. Historically, special education often meant the dreaded pull-out service, right? Yanking a kid out of the room just when the science experiment gets to the good part so they can go work on a skill. But that literally means they're missing core grade-level content. Embedded instruction is the research-backed solution where you integrate that specially designed instruction directly into natural, everyday classroom activities. So how do we actually pull this off? Here is a brilliant 4-step framework. First, identify the target IEP goal and align it straight to your general ed unit. Second, look at your daily schedule and identify natural opportunities. Maybe it's transition times, maybe it's small group work. Third, implement a prompt hierarchy where you offer explicit scaffolding and then naturally fade it out as they gain independence. And fourth, collect data right in the moment. By using this framework, you can seamlessly weave an objective, like say identifying one-to-one correspondence, right into the middle of your standard science block.
Which brings us to Section 4, AI and Personalized Learning, leveraging Agentic AI as a powerful co-teacher. Now, as we move from cognitive strategies to our tech toolkit, I want you to take a deep breath, because if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the idea of hyper-personalizing everything, this next advancement is going to save you hours of time. Notice the word autonomous here. We are talking about Agentic AI. This isn't just a basic chatbot where you type a prompt and it spits out an essay. No, Agentic AI is a dynamic, responsive learning engine. It adapts to a learner's performance in real time, actively building a comprehensive profile of the student and hyper-personalizing their learning pathways completely on the fly. Look at these specific tools. It is honestly wild what we can do now. Magic School AI can instantly level a complex reading passage so a struggling reader accesses the exact same grade-level concepts as their peers. School AI acts like a mission-controlled behavioral dashboard. It literally detects frustration language in a student's responses and sends social-emotional prompts to the teacher before a behavior even escalates. Then you've got systems like CoE-IEP that use multiple AI agents to help draft highly rigorous, smart-aligned IEP goals, or Zoom AI Companion for automated summaries. These systems act as brilliant thought partners. They shoulder the heavy administrative burden so you can get back to what actually matters: the human connection.
Let's bring it all home with Section 5, data, trauma, and teamwork, building collaborative ecosystems and relational architectures. For this final structural pillar, we transition strictly to the human element, managing emotional safety, legally proving our progress, and working as a unified team. A truly trauma-informed inclusive classroom runs on predictable rhythms and somatic awareness. Modern research tells us over and over that behavioral challenges in inclusive settings usually stem from dysregulation and trauma, not intentional defiance. The rhythm-body-mind architecture hits this head-on. You start the day with rhythm, not rules, predictable 5-minute opening rituals to regulate those nervous systems. You give bodies agency, letting a student take a self-directed body break because fighting their own body drains their cognitive energy. And you practice mindful listening, reflecting their words back to build mutual respect. When kids feel somatically safe, their academic stamina absolutely skyrockets. But, how do you actually prove that stamina and academic growth? To meet that appropriately ambitious Supreme Court standard without drowning in an ocean of paperwork, you've got to digitize your workflow. Tools like AbleSpace allow for one-click data logging right on your phone or tablet in the middle of instruction. No more lost sticky notes. It automates the graphing so you can spot patterns instantly. We're talking about saving educators upwards of 4 hours a week, all while providing the bulletproof, high-fidelity data that the law requires. Now, all of that beautiful digital data is useless if it just sits in a silo. Enter the monthly data dialogue. This is an essential, structured, collaborative rhythm where general ed and special ed teachers actually sit down together, look at those automated graphs, and democratize their insights. If an embedded instructional strategy is working wonders for a student in your science class, the monthly data dialogue ensures that the math and social studies teachers find out about it and implement it instantly. It completely distributes the responsibility of success across the entire teaching team. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought to challenge how you envision your classroom moving forward. We've got the legal mandate, the neurodesign principles, the AI tools, and the real-time data trackers. The blueprint is right there in your hands. So are you going to keep planning for that mythical average student who doesn't even exist? Or are you ready to become an architect of learning who engineers for the beautiful reality of human variability? The choice is entirely yours. Keep building, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.